message is clear. I think that you would like that video. The message is pretty clear. Good morning and welcome to the Sunday morning service of the Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Laguna Beach. My name is Noreen Kukinen and I will be your worship associate this morning. Our video encouraged us to change ourselves for the better, and we're fortunate to have as our guest speaker this morning, Chaplain John Bloom-Ramirez, who will help us do just that with his sermon, Metamorphosis. We welcome Chaplain Bloom-Ramirez once again to UUFLB. My part of this service was made easy by Chaplain Bloom-Ramirez's assistance. He did a lot and I appreciate it. And also the assistance of Rachel, Kendra, and Cindy, who work with great dedication and effort behind the scenes to get the speakers that you like to listen to and publicize our services. Thank you to them. With so many challenging things going on in the world right now, I find it easy to wonder what life will look like in the future when the pandemic is really over. There is no war going on in Ukraine, and the world presents a new face. You probably feel that way too. Perhaps we should consider the lowly caterpillar and the wondrous creature it becomes. When the caterpillar is moved to form the chrysalis, I don't think he has any idea of what's going to happen after he metamorphosizes. We don't know what lies in the future for us, but we do know that things will change, and change can be very hard sometimes. Like the messiness of the chrysalis as the caterpillar becomes the butterfly. Chaplain Bloom-Ramirez will encourage us to leave our dark places and become who we want to be. Like the butterfly, we are a miracle unfolding. Making this service possible are Pam Floodman and Don West Jr., who handled the technical part of our service with dedication, patience, and skill. Our talented music director, Carol Cole, provides beautiful melodies for the hymns that enrich our worship. Paul Bogdan and Candy Strock get to the church early to open it up, brew delicious coffee, and set out the treats. And there are those behind the scenes who support our fellowship in so many ways. Everyone helps. We all serve together to make our worship as a community possible. We're grateful. We're a fun group of people here at UUFLB, ever striving to be better. The UUFLB board has formed a ministerial search task force for a quarter-time minister in follow-up to the discussion at the recent congregational meeting on February 13th. The task force consists of Oakley Frost, Bruce Johnson, and Pam Floodman. The quarter-time position has been posted on the UUA Ministerial Search website. The task force members look forward to hearing from members of the congregation as we proceed with the ministerial search process. If you have questions or ideas to share, please reach out to Pam, Oakley, or Bruce. Thank you. This congregation is a theologically diverse religious community with membership open to all who are in accord with our principles, mission, and vision. We're a welcoming community to people of all sexual orientations, and we unconditionally welcome any and all of you to our community of mutual caring and serious intent to grow as spiritual and moral beings. As Unitarian Universalists, we don't believe in a single religious creed. Instead, we have a set of principles to guide us as we build a religious community together. The principles aren't dogma or doctrine, but rather a statement of what we believe. Our principles can be found online at uua.org. And if you're in the building, the church, you can find them in the large hymnal. I believe that principle number 3, acceptance of one another and encouragement to spiritual growth in our congregations. And number 4, a free and responsible search for truth and meaning are reflected in this service. To achieve the metamorphosis of true spiritual growth, we must accept ourselves, search for the truth of our own lives, and change what stands in the way of us becoming our best selves. We will now light the chalice. Dara is doing service this morning. Thank you, Dara.
The light of happiness and the light of contentment. May it illuminate our paths and fill our lives with peace, and let there be dark. For it is from our dark places that we are brought forward, truly tried and tested, and impelled toward growth. It is in these places we realize compassion and learn love. And there was day, and there was night, and there was joy, and there was sorrow, and it was good.
Our centering thought this morning is from Heraclitus. The only constant in the universe is change. Our whole opening hymn this morning is number 396. Carol will play, I Know This Rose Will Open.
Good morning, everyone. Please join me on this beautiful day to sing, I Know This Rose Will Open. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will furl its wings. I know this rose will open. Please repeat. I know this rose will open. I know my fear will burn away. I know my soul will furl its wings. I know this rose will open.
Time in our service where we repeat our unison affirmation, which I believe will be shown up on the screen. Am I correct? Beautiful.
May we be reminded. May we be reminded here of our highest aspirations
and
and
inspired to bring our gifts
gifts
of
love
love
and
and
service
service to the ultimate of humanity. May we know once again
that we are not
isolated beings, but
connected
Connected
in mystery
mystery and
and
miracle
miracle to the
to the
universe
universe,
to this
to this community,
and to each
and
other.
to each other.
So our call to worship today comes from Chris Cervantes, and it's called Rest in the Peace of This Moment. Rest now. Rest in the peace of this moment. Be at ease. Look up at the stars and down at the grass. Imagine the stars looking back at you over the centuries, across oceans of empty space. Imagine the feel of the grass at your bare feet and feel it dry, crunchy, soft, and supple. Rest now. Rest in the peace of this moment. Dream for a little while of young people and young animals, innocent in the way of the young, careless, and uncaring, accepting everything in its newness. Dream for a little while of the elders and the wisdom they have to give. and the voices that say to you, it is right and proper to rest now. Rest in the peace of this moment. Be still. At the turning axis of the world, and just let go of the long unspooling history of sorrow and joy and birth and death and all the long years in between. Rest now. Rest in the peace of this moment. And
Thank
now
you.
is that time in our service where we share our joys and sorrows. So please send a chat message or
So we'll move along and we'll start recording again. We're at the offertory time. There are 2 slides down to indicate our need today to make a collection for Ukraine and our desire to make that collection. As our small congregation has done often in the past, we support the call to serve the world. The scope of the humanitarian crisis in Ukraine is really staggering. When you hear such wonderful stories like Oakley's grandson, there's just so much good in the human spirit to help counteract the evil of this invasion. And we can join that good effort by contributing today to the donation that's being collected by the Unitarian Universalist Association.org and make a big difference. So please dig in if you can. We donate to ease the widespread suffering there. If you're watching by Zoom, the information on the screen, the next screen, tells you where you can send the funds. And it's the same information we use for our church donations. And it's in your message that indicated the topic of our service this morning. So please send as you can to help those poor suffering people. Thank you. Andy is passing the basket. Please join in singing our song of thanks.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live.
Carol. We're
thank you
pleased.
all for your generosity today in supporting this church and its mission for freedom, justice, and peace in the world. I chose to do a little something different for you this morning for your meditation time. One of the most powerful and poignant songs in the Disney film Encanto is now the Oscar-nominated ballad Dos Oruguitas, penned by Lin-Manuel Miranda and sung by Colombian singer-songwriter Sebastian Yatra. When I first heard this song, I teared up because the lyrics are about changing, growing, and moving after a terrible loss. Discovering a new miracle, and it just hit me right in the feels. There was something so poignant about the visuals and the explanation in the song that when I heard the English version, it didn't quite hit the same. So in honor of the original, I wanted to take time today to listen to this beautiful musical treatise about change, love, loss, growing, and finding a miracle in the suffering that we all share. And we're going to listen to it in its original Spanish. Dawn was kind enough to find a translated version where there will be the English subtitles to the side, directly translated from the song and not the actual English version, which I think loses some of its oomph. So please join with me now in the spirit of meditation and prayer as we listen to Dos Oruguitas. There's just something about butterflies. The miracle that are the butterflies. It is such a sacred symbol throughout the world. And I wanted to share with you some of the thoughts I had about butterflies. And I thought that Noreen's introduction was perfect this morning because it kind of ties in directly into what I'm going to be talking about today. When I was in kindergarten, my teacher wanted to teach us about metamorphosis. She explained the life cycle of the butterfly, how it hatches from an egg as a fuzzy little caterpillar, which in turn eats and eats and eats some more until it gets nice and plump. And then it spins a silken cocoon or forms a chrysalis where it transforms into a beautiful butterfly. About a week later, the butterfly emerges, spreads its wings, and flies away gracefully. What she didn't explain was how gruesome and truly transformational this process was. Our story begins with a hungry caterpillar who just hatched from an egg. Soon enough, that little caterpillar, scientifically known as a larvae, stuffs itself with leaves, growing little by little. When they've outgrown their current skin, a steroid hormone is released, instructing the larva to molt. After it molts about 5 times, the larva stops feeding, hangs upside down from a twig or leaf, and then either spins itself a silky cocoon or molts into a shiny chrysalis. A juvenile hormone acts to delay that metamorphosis through the entire larvae stage. It works by blocking the genes in these things called imaginal discs, tiny little disc-shaped bags of cells that kick into action when the caterpillar wraps itself in that chrysalis, eventually turning into an antennae, an eye, a wing, or another butterfly bit. Each cell is programmed to self-destruct through the activation of an enzyme called capaces. The capaces tear through the cell's proteins, releasing prime butterfly-making materials. The juvenile hormone prevents this from happening until the right time, thus avoiding killing the caterpillar. Instead, nature programmed the hormone to lower its levels at the ideal moment for metamorphosis. With less juvenile hormone around, instead of inducing a regular molt, this now drives the caterpillar to pupate or create a cocoon. Once a caterpillar has disintegrated, all of its tissues, except for those little imaginal discs, those discs use the protein-rich butterfly soup surrounding them to fuel a rapid cell division required to form the wings, antennae, legs, eyes, genitals, and all the other features of an adult butterfly or moth. Metamorphosis isn't just some physical transformation, however. It is a stunning display of the evolutionary mechanism at work. Butterflies and caterpillars don't just look different. They behave differently too. One lives in trees, the other one flies. Most importantly, one eats leaves, the other one solely feeds on nectar. There's plenty of room for both of these kinds of creatures to exist in the ecosystem since they don't interfere with the other's food stocks. It's brilliant. As I mentioned, the butterfly is a sacred symbol in a lot of cultures around the world. In Christianity, the butterfly symbolizes the soul upon death. In Chinese culture, it symbolizes conjugal or sexual bliss. To the Hopi people of the American Southwest, the butterfly is a powerful symbol of their rebirth, or I'm sorry, it represents hope, color, and resurrection, which is perfect for this time of year because we are celebrating the spring equinox. For transgender individuals, the butterfly is a powerful symbol of their rebirth as the gender that they were meant to be. Another common secular belief is that they simply symbolize spring and the changing of the seasons. All of these meanings to me are beautiful, and they do touch the mystical side of my soul very deeply. For me, though, these remarkable creatures have appeared at especially important times in my life. Anytime I was experiencing or preparing to experience a change that would upend and reinvent me, the butterfly was there. Sometimes it was only the caterpillar I saw, and it was a reminder that change was inevitable, and embracing it was the only way for me to grow into a more spiritually and emotionally rounded human being. When I was younger, the butterfly symbolized my experience and struggle as a queer youth, unable to express himself in the manner that I wanted to without shame or repercussions. Caterpillars were important to me because the average person saw them as ugly. I saw them as me, something that was still growing and changing. But when it got to spread its wings, it could change the world. When I discovered my ex-wife was pregnant with my child, my son, I saw a butterfly kaleidoscope, swarm, and it was a reminder of the busyness that I would soon experience and the fragility of this new life and my transformation, not just as a human, but as a father. I saw butterflies in the garden at the church in Anaheim on my second wedding day as I was setting up, and I saw them during the memorial services of both my daughter and my grandmother. So yes, I definitely can see the rich and deeply meaningful symbolism of the butterfly and its metamorphosis. A form of self-care that I practice, that I'm encouraging you all to do, is cocooning. When I feel incredibly stagnant, anxious, or scared, I will literally roll myself up in my favorite blanket and just listen to some soothing music. When my anxiety or stress is past and I feel like I can breathe again, I'll unravel myself from my cocoon and start over. Granted, this transformation is not nearly as gruesome or shocking as that of a butterfly. I don't turn into soup, I promise. But I've developed it as a healthy coping mechanism for when I do have my anxiety attacks. I also use it when my mind is stuck and I need to recharge my creativity. My best costume designs and sermons have come from this practice. A story I wanted to share with you today is called The Lesson of the Butterfly, and it's by Paulo Coelho. A man spent hours watching a butterfly struggle to emerge from its cocoon. It managed to make a small hole, but its body was just too large to get through it. After a long struggle, it appeared to be exhausted and remained absolutely still. The man decided to help the butterfly. With a pair of scissors, he cut open the cocoon, thus releasing this beautiful creature. However, the butterfly's body was very small and wrinkled, and its wings were crumpled. The man continued to watch, hoping that at any moment the butterfly would open its wings and fly away. Nothing happened. In fact, the butterfly spent the rest of its brief life dragging around its shrunken body and shriveled wings, incapable of flight. What that man, out of kindness and his eagerness to help, had failed to understand was that that tight cocoon and the efforts that the butterfly had to make in order to squeeze out through that tiny hole were nature's way of training the butterfly and strengthening its wings. Sometimes just a little extra effort is precisely what prepares us for the next obstacle we need to face. Anyone who refuses to make that effort or gets the wrong sort of help is unprepared to fight the next battle and never manages to fly off on their own destiny. So what can we learn from the butterfly? First, the act of metamorphosis is gruesome. I combined two words there. You like that? Gruesome and messy. It's gruesome and messy, and it's very important. Change is inevitable. As our centering thought said, the only constant in the universe is change. Change and changing is hard, and it can be taxing on the soul, the body, the mind, or all of the above. However, the struggle of that change is made sweeter by the results of the transformation. Also, by helping someone too much and enabling them, you're not allowing them to learn and grow, such as in the story that I just read by Coelho, where the man attempted to help the butterfly by cutting off its cocoon. Secondly, life is fleeting. The average lifespan of a butterfly is 2 weeks. Some live as little as a day, with the longest living 1 year. I've heard it said, live each day as if it were your last. Pardon me. There. While I can see wisdom in that sentiment, it's a bit nihilistic for me. So I see it that we must make most of the time that we do have. Lastly, and possibly the most important part of this lesson, is that we must appreciate the simple beauty that life has to offer us, especially the gorgeous wings of the butterfly. Spoiler alert, and no apologies, because if you haven't seen this film by now, I'm sorry. You should. That's your homework. Go watch Encanto. Sing along if you know it already. In that film Encanto, I realized there were a lot of layers going on when the character Abuela says, I've never been able to come back here, to her granddaughter Mirabel next to the river. That scene that we saw that was kind of paused in the song slide. On one hand, she sounds like she's saying that she's never emotionally been able to go back there to face her grief, the grief of her husband dying and sacrificing himself in order for their people to get away. On the other hand, she's also never been able to physically grieve or go there because the mountains were in the way. The mountains were the protection for the family. The mountains were a protection for the family in a time of danger, but they also represented Abuela's attempt to protect herself from painful memories. When Mirabel in the story causes the mountain to crack, she was not only breaking down their no longer needed wall of protection, she was also breaking down Abuela's internal walls that allowed her to face her own pain and start to heal, like breaking the chrysalis in the song. Our entire country right now is in a cocoon. We're swimming in butterfly soup. I'm just curious what it will look like when we finally emerge. Will we surrender our lives to the altar of capitalism, opening the economy fully and thus inflating the flattening curve of new infections of this virus that's been keeping us secluded and unsustained for 2 years? Will we cut open our cocoon too early, thus withering and dying because we aren't ready to fly just yet? Will we have peace? The Council of Foreign Relations confirms that besides the Russian invasion of Ukraine, of sovereign Ukraine, there are 26 other armed conflicts in the world at this very moment. Why and will we continue to have war? In the case of this congregation that I'm standing before, you guys are in a chrysalis, a cocoon. Your minister just recently left you to continue her own journey of self-discovery. And during that, you were dealing with the pandemic and surviving, learning new technologies to continue your worship. You've been changing, you've been growing, and now you're ready to seek a new spiritual leader, and I applaud you for that. The only constant in the universe is change. Right now, we're at an unprecedented time. We're 2 years into this quarantine, and I'm sure that there's an incredible amount of anxiety, stress, depression, and maybe even a little bit of loneliness with each of you. I encourage you to all use this now, though, as a time of renewal. I urge you to only read what is absolutely necessary if you must. News reports are just too conflicting, especially those coming from our national leaders. Research what's fair, balanced, and only from reputable sources. I'm not going to name any. You all are smart enough to figure out what's reputable to you. Imagine that your home is your own personal cocoon, and at this moment, you're just swimming in butterfly soup, ready to be reborn into something new, something different, something that you were not before this process started. The one thing we cannot do is go back to normal. That's not going to be a possibility anymore. Normal is outdated, it's outmoded. We need to embrace this transformation, this change. Whatever the outcome, we're going to emerge from this chrysalis as a new country, for better or worse. As Unitarian Universalists, I would hope that our first act is one of love out of resilience. We are a strong and moral people, and we must maintain that no matter what, that we will not change our mission. We will continue to embrace the spirit of the 8 principles, and we will strongly stand against any violation of them. I would hope that we would rediscover that we have wings, that they are grand and they are beautiful, and that we can fly, hopefully spreading our message of inclusivity around the world. In the meantime, if you need to cocoon yourself and shut down the world in order to do it, do it. Renew yourself. Watch Netflix, stream some movies, listen to soothing music like I do. If you need to create to remain cognizant, please have at. This world needs you to sing, dance, make art, do it. Do it for yourself and for the health of your soul. Ralph Waldo Emerson says, so shall we come back to look at the world with new eyes. We will come back to look at the world with new eyes because it will be a far different world than the one we are used to. And it's up to us to make sure that it is better, safer, and more welcoming. It will add to the kaleidoscope and beauty that is this life, this world, and this faith. May it be so. And now I would like to introduce our closing hymn. We give thanks. It's in Singing the Living Tradition, or Singing the Journey, sorry, and it's number 1010. It's in the green hymnal.
Please join me again on We Give Thanks, which we will sing twice. We give thanks for this precious day, for gathered here and those far away, for this time we share with love and care. We give thanks for this precious day. For this precious day, for gathered here and those far away, for the time we share with love and care. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day. Oh, we give thanks for this precious day.
Thank you, Carol. We come to the time of the evening, still morning. When we come to the time of the morning when we extinguish our chalice, we extinguish this flame, but not the meaning. Chaplain Bloom-Ramirez will give us his benediction.
Perfect, thank you. This benediction I came to find actually last evening. The one that I had previously, which is in your order of service, while lovely, wasn't quite what I wanted to leave you with. This just kind of was something I stumbled upon, and it's relatively new. So I read it, and it's from my colleague, Emily Richards. May you leave this time together changed. May the promises you have made yourself about who you want to be Feel closer to the reality of who you are right now. May you share that feeling of transformation wherever you go. May it spread into every word, deed, thought, and interaction until we are all changed, transformed, and transforming together to become our better selves. With that, I say, Amen, Shalom, Shalom, Namaste, and blessed be.
Thank you.
And Carol, if you will lead us out with Let There Be Peace on Earth, that would be beautiful. Socially distant circle, are we doing that still? Lovely.
Let there be peace and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With earth as our mother, we are family. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this